guys, so welcome back to Friends Inspire podcast. Today we're here with Miss Eyrich, and I'm Isabel Karam. I'm Aayushi Jorgenson. So you've been teaching and working at schools for over 20 years. That's really exciting. What made you want to be a teacher in the first place?
Well, thanks for having me. This is super exciting. I'm happy to be able to sit down and talk with you both. Couple things. My parents were both educators. My mom at the college level, my dad at the elementary level. And so I grew up in a household where education was something we talked about and what my parents were doing. And then it was definitely my senior year English teachers who inspired me. I took AP English Lit, and it was a husband and wife team who co-taught the course, which was really cool. And I think they just taught me to read books differently. And I was so inspired, and I thought, well, this would be amazing if I could sit in a room with young people discussing books for the rest of my career. That would be pretty fun.
So yeah, thank you for your response. That's really interesting. Why did you decide to come to Sidwell? What drew you to Sidwell? How do you envision your contributions aligning with our school mission and goals moving forward? Like, what made you think, wow, this is the place I want to be?
Well, first, when I applied, it was because of the job description. And I had been chair of English at my last school. And before then, I was a dean of students at a particular grade level, the grade level dean. And so I've always been interested in working with faculty and developing curriculum, but also working with students a lot. So, and supporting students as they move through their high school trajectories. So when I saw this role, it looked like the role got to work with everybody. And that was really, I think, what I was looking for the most, an administrative position where I would still be able to see students every single day, teach, work with faculty, develop curriculum. And so to me, it looked like a really exciting role. The day I visited, I loved it. Everyone was so nice and welcoming, and students asked really great questions. I got to meet with student government, and everyone was just so wonderful. So when I went home, I remember thinking, well, I hope this works out. I liked it. So I think I answered part of your question, but there might have been a third part if you want to let me know. Did I miss something?
I don't think so. I think I answered it pretty well.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I guess from there, like coming from your old school, what was the biggest influence you think in how you approach now? Like, what do you take from there that you're applying now?
Yeah. In my last role, what was new to me there was working, was the kind of perspective I had on the curriculum. So when I was at the school that I came from before my last school, I was working with students on their junior years, and I was a junior English coordinator. So I helped to kind of coordinate the junior English program and review the texts and think about what we might want to do the next year. But as English chair, I was really looking at the experience from grades 9 through 12. And so it was like a completely different perspective. And so thinking about that, the program really was something that was helpful for me coming into this position, because I'm able to apply that to now thinking about the whole academic program. So English, yes, but also kind of your whole experience from 9 through 12.
Because you're like balancing everybody's different subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And thinking about what your academic life is like across 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. What was your job before Sidwell at the previous school?
So I started in my last school as a full-time English teacher, an advisor, club advisor. And then I became chair of English for the last 5 years before I came here.
Cool.
And then I guess on a lighter note, what's like a fun fact about you that people at the school don't really know?
Fun fact. Okay, so I was a very serious ballet dancer. And I probably would have gone straight into a company after high school. So, yeah, I worked really hard at it. I danced 6 days a week, and it was my life for a lot of years. And then I actually got an injury that I probably could have come back for if I'd fought harder. But it was actually a moment for me to kind of reevaluate what I wanted to do. And it opened a door for me to kind of reconsider whether I wanted to make this my life's career. And I think in the end, I decided that I didn't actually. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Well, I'm a bad answer too, and I really enjoyed it. So, like, why did you choose dance in the first place?
I came from a family of artists, so they were educators, but they were both musicians as well. So arts, all of the arts were really big in my family growing up. It was something that I took to when I was really young. And I remember my mom kind of putting me in a whole bunch of activities and just saying, try this, try that. We'll see what you like, what you're good at. And I couldn't swim. I fell off the balance beam, like, and then ballet seemed to be something that I could do. And then I fell in love with it. So
That's really cool.
Yeah. What do you like to do for fun?
I love to go to museums. I love to go on long walks with my dog, explore kind of new cities, new places. So yeah, food. I love to try new food. Yeah, like right now we're new to DC, so kind of getting around and exploring the city is what I'm up to. It's very fun.
What do you think of your favorite DC museum? Because DC is kind of known for its big museums.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't been to all of them since I've been here. Favorite. I don't know that I could say a favorite. It's a great question. But I don't think I'd want to answer it before having been to all of them, because every time I go to one, I think, oh, wow, this is really cool. Great holdings here. But then I go to the next one and I would say the same thing. So I'm going to come back to you with an answer on that at some point. I'm going to suspend my answer. But they've all been great.
And then, what is that?
Sure, yeah. Many students comment on your awesome fashion sense and tastefully decorated office. So do you have anything to say in regard to that?
Thank you. I do like decorating. I like interior design. I was actually an art history major. It was a double, and I did grad school in architectural history. So while I was really studying the buildings, I've always been interested in interior design. That always goes along with it. So I was really excited to decorate this office a little bit when I moved in. And the fashion sense has always been a little, individual. I just see pieces or something and like them and pick them up.
I mean, even your boots today, they're buzzing.
Yeah, I really like cowboy boots. And I don't have a reason for it. I grew up in New England. It's not like people were wearing cowboy boots every day. But I really like them.
And your office is so cozy. Like, I always think that.
Ew.
That's how the goal gives Park that bug, even though there's no fireplace.
I know, I need to work on that. Maybe I can get one of those fake ones. I don't think they'll let me. But I actually really don't like overhead lights like these, so I wanted to make the lighting a little warmer.
And then, I guess next question, coming from New York, what is the biggest change? Like, obviously there are big differences, but
biggest change. I would say, the biggest difference between the two cities, or just change in what it's
just like your life. I don't know.
Yeah. I would say I have to figure out the metro. I haven't figured out the metro well yet. Whereas in New York City, I would just hop on the subway and knew the system. I didn't have to look at the maps. So I feel like I'm still getting to know the city. One thing that I love about DC is all the museums are free if they're Smithsonian, if they're federal. We do not have that in New York. So if you want to spend a weekend going to museums, it can get very expensive. But it is amazing to be able to wander in and out of museums in DC. But yeah, I would say, and also the cherry blossoms. That's a big change.
Beautiful.
They're beautiful. We had some cherry blossoms in the neighborhood where I lived, but you don't see that in New York City.
I mean, yeah, it's just so natural and so pretty, especially when they're like peak bloom, spring break.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood, like your passions and your dreams.
So definitely one of them was to be a ballet dancer. So I reevaluated. I wanted to be a doctor at one point, and I started college pre-med, but that didn't last too long. Decided not to do that. And reading, I just loved reading. So, and I think if people, and in fact, I think they did, if people asked me what I wanted to be in high school, I think I said high school English teacher. So I pretty much got it then. I think, reading, hanging out with friends, dancing, the arts, those were all passions of mine when I was little.
Well, I'm glad that your passion was fulfilled.
Yeah, thank you.
And then looking back on it, if you could like tell your younger self, you said that it was your dream to become an English teacher. What would you tell yourself to become that? I guess you sort of already did it.
Yeah. I would tell myself, I think there's, I would tell myself to trust myself. I think my younger self, I think there's I got a little lucky in that I had a sense that I knew what I wanted to do at a relatively young age, which I think is, still surprising when I look back on it. But I think that I spent a lot of my late teens and early to mid 20s kind of second guessing myself and not trusting my own abilities or my own thoughts. And so if I could coach my younger self, it would be to actually kind of trust the voice in my head.
Yeah. And I think that's something all of us can learn from, definitely, especially as high schoolers going into college and making all those decisions.
Yeah. Definitely listen to yourself and trust yourself. Then I moved to New York City, and I went there for a second grad school experience in art history, where I started my PhD, but I didn't finish that program. So that brought me to New York. And the story I tell, I remember being on, like I was in boxes. I had packed up my apartment in New York City and I was about to move home to the Boston area to continue writing one of my master's theses at home when I got a call for an interview at what would become my first school. And it was just, I'd happened to put in some applications and I was surprised by the call. And then it was like the most happy accident of my life. And I ended up there for 13 years in the English department, teaching art history too, and then was a grade level dean. And it was just like off from there. So sometimes I find that in moments where, I look back and see boxes in my apartment and thinking like, what am I going to do next? And things just fall into place. So yeah, that's kind of the in-between story. And then I was at my school in New York for 13 years. Then my family, we moved to New Jersey. I found the commute kind of difficult. And then I got a job at a school in New Jersey where I was there for a very long time. That's where I was English chair. So yeah, cool.
And then what do you think is the most fun or rewarding part of your role here at Sidwell?
Definitely. I think it's all the contact with people, getting to work with you all, getting to work with students, talking with you about your programs, what it is that you want to do, talking to teachers about the things that they're excited to do in their classrooms, and, talking to parents, helping parents, understand more about our program or answering their questions. So it's honestly, I think, I'm in a lot of meetings in this role. Which are all great. They're venues for teamwork and conversation. And I have a lot of tasks that I complete, but if I think at the end of the day, what's the best part of my day, it's all the time I spend with people.
Do you have more?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, like, you had quite a journey in education. So can you share more about your journey and what inspired you to pursue a career in independent schools specifically?
Yeah. So I didn't go to independent schools. I went to my local regional high school. I looked at independent schools as a student, as a rising ninth grader, but I ended up going to my local high school where I had a great experience. And I think that independent schools, it was a system that I didn't know much about, to be honest. I had a lot of friends in college who went to independent schools, but I hadn't experienced them myself. And so it was when I got that call to do an interview at an independent school in New York that I really started learning about independent schools. And I've been in them ever since, a long time. So, yeah.
Do you think your experience like teaching and administrating at independent schools is very different from, I guess, how you'd think public schools work, having like gone to a public school but being teaching at an independent school?
That's a great question. These are all great questions, but that's a question that I haven't really reflected on before. I don't know because I haven't worked in a public school. I certainly had amazing mentors in my high school. And so I think there are probably a lot of similarities, but I think there are some different things about how our schools are structured. And I think one major difference is that when we get to create our own curriculum, and then we, evaluate our work, and yes, we are accredited, but it's a different thing than, the state. And so there's more flexibility with, not sitting for certain standardized tests, things like that. So there are some clear differences between the systems, but in terms of what it's like to work in the two, I don't actually know, but now I'm curious.
And then, I don't know, do you have the last question?
Not quite. I mean, like,
Sorry, out of time.
yeah, I mean, like, you've given us amazing responses. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Oh, it was so great to talk to you both. Thanks for reaching out.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.